Preface. We feel extremely privileged to present a revised third edition of the Venu-gita, translated from the Hindi commentary written by our beloved Gurudev O Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajkacharya Ashtottarshad Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. The first English edition, which appeared in 1995, was a compilation of the direct transcripts of a series of lectures that our exalted Gurudev had spoken in English several years before. The Hindi rendition, inspired by the English version, is the result of his deeply studying the commentaries of Shri Jeev Goswami and Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He was so pleased with the Hindi rendition that he ordered it to be translated into English and published as soon as possible. The second English version, published in September 1999, flowed much more smoothly than the original and convincingly captured the very charming sentiments stimulated in the hearts of the cowherd damsels of Vraja when they hear the sweetly alluring song of Shri Shyam Sundar flute. And now the third edition attempts to refine the language and open up the meanings of the many Sanskrit terms that define the bhakti experience. This book is a beautiful and priceless gift from our venerable Gurudev to the practicing devotee who is aspiring to do Raganubhajan, service in the mood of spontaneous love. Presenting many delightful descriptions of the moods of the gopis who speak the Venu-gita, this sacred text effectively reveals the innocence in the hearts of the Vraja milkmaids, who know only their supernal sweetheart, Vrajendranandana Shyamsundar. The vision of this innocence, purity and fervent devotion will surely have a powerful effect on the reader, increasing his faith and instilling in him the desire to seriously cultivate bhakti in the wake of Krishna beloveds. The introduction is also significant with its presentation of many authentic proofs that establish the qualification to hear these confidential topics. The conclusion of all these references is that it is actually our duty to hear these discussions from bona fide Vaishnavas in our disciplic line, even while we are still plagued with extraneous desires. Indeed, our acharyas have informed us that hearing about Krishna pastimes with the beautiful damsels of Vraja is the APT medicine for healing the blemished heart. This translation is the fruit of a large cooperative effort. All of us from Shri Gurudev's flourishing garden who helped bring this book to press are grateful to have been engaged in this elevated and exhilarating service. Please excuse any mistake that may have slipped by us. We humbly pray at the lotus feet of our beloved and magnanimous Gurudev, whom Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu has sent to sprinkle the whole world with Swabhakti Shriyam, intimate service to Shri Radha, that he will be pleased with this English presentation of his Hindi words. We entreat that very soon he will also fill our hearts, which are harder and drier than any piece of bamboo, with his same deep loving sentiments for the divine couple, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Yugla. Attaching the Merche Ori Shri Gurupad Padma. The associated devotees of The Gaudiya Vedant Publis Hind Truth. Completed on 15 March 2009 Gaur Purnima. Introduction. Srimad Bhagavatam is a direct manifestation of the Supreme Lord. It is an ambrosial, overflowing ocean of supremely sweet nectarian love, Premarasa, for the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swayar Bhagwan, that is, Vrajendranandana Shri Krishna, the personification of divine mellows. Rasika and Bhavuk devotees. Devotees immersed in upper stages of bhakti and expert in tasting transcendental mellows. Ek absorbed in tasting the beauty of Krishna pastimes, always drown in this ocean. Srimad Bhagavatam is the fully ripened, juicy fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literature that comprises the entirety of Indian thought. Within Srimad Bhagavatam, Gopi Prem, the love of the cowherd maidens of Vraja, has been ascertained to be the ultimate objective. A few towering waves of Gopi Prem can be seen from the Venu-gita portion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Rasika devotees, who are seasoned in experiencing divine loving sentiments, drown themselves in these waves and even lose all consciousness of their own bodies. Greed to be immersed in this ambrosial ocean sprouts also in the hearts of the faithful devotees who are situated on the shore of this ocean. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the combined form of Rasraj, the king of divine mellows, and Mahabhav, the queen of divine love, resplendent with the sentiment and bodily complexion of Sri Radha, relished the nectar of Venu-gita with Sri Swarup Damodar and Sri Rai Ramanand in Sri Gambhir. Sri Sanatan Goswami and Sri Jeev Goswami collected a few drops of this nectar in their commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Brihad Vaishnavtoshni and Laghu Vaishnavtoshni respectively. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, through his commentary named Sararth Darshini, has distributed to the whole world that same nectar in the form of remnants of their Mahaprasad. Some persons believe that unqualified sadhaks, spiritual practitioners, are ineligible to hear, chant or remember the topics of Sri Venu-gita, Sri Raspanchadhyayi, Yugal-gita, Bhramar-gita and so on as described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This consideration is fully legitimate. But according to their conception, only a sadhak who has conquered the 6 urges, lust, anger, etc., who is free from all anarthas, mean, selfish propensities, and fully purified of the heart disease of lust is eligible to hear such topics, while all others have no right. We will now examine this topic in greater detail. Sri Rup Goswami, who established and fulfilled Thena heart's desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, composed Sri Bhaktirsamrit Sindhu, Sri Ujjwal Nilmani and other sacred texts. Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami composed Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit. While writing, they were deeply concerned that these confidential texts on rasa, transcendental loving exchanges, should not fall into the hands of unqualified persons. If this should occur, it could present a great disturbance to the world. A glimpse of this topic is found in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit, Adilila 4.231 as stated by Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. ए सब सिद्धांत गूढ़ कहिते ना युयाय, ना कहिले केह इहार अंत नाही पाए, अतएव कही किछु करिया निगूढ़, बुझिबे रसिक भक्त ना बुझिबे मूढ़, हृदय धरिये ये चैतन्य नित्यानंद, ए सब सिद्धांते से पाइबे आनंद, ए सब सिद्धांत है आमरेर पल्लव, भक्तगण को किलेर सर्वदा वल्लभ, अभक्तुष्ट्रेर इथे ना है प्रवेश, तबे चित्ते है मोर आनंद विशेष, ये लागी कहिते भय से यदि ना जाने, यहाँ वह किबा सुख आछे त्रिभुवने, अतएव भक्तगणे करी नमस्कार, निहशंके कहिए तार हौक चमत्कार. The esoteric and confidential conclusions regarding the amorous pastimes of Rasraj Shri Krishna with the gopis, the cowherd maidens of Vraja who embody the highest sentiments of divine love, are not fit to be disclosed to the common ordinary man. But without revealing them, no one can enter into this topic. I shall, therefore, describe these topics in a concealed manner so that only Rasika devotees will be able to understand, whereas ineligible fools will not. Anyone who has established Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityanand Prabhu in his heart will attain transcendental bliss by hearing all these conclusions. This entire doctrine is as sweet as newly grown mango sprouts, which can be relished only by devotees, who are likened to cuckoo birds. For the camel-like non-devotees, there is no possibility of admittance into these topics. Therefore, there is special jubilation in my heart. If those whom I fear are themselves unable to comprehend these topics, then what could be a greater source of happiness in all the 3 worlds? Therefore, after offering obeisances to the devotees, I am revealing this subject without any hesitation. By reading and hearing these topics, everyone can attain the highest benefit. Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has clarified this topic by quoting the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.33.36. Anugrahaya bhaktana manushan deham asthitah. Bhajte tadrishyah kridayah shrutva tatparo bhavet. In order to bestow mercy upon the devotees as well as the conditioned souls, Bhagwan Shri Krishna manifests his human-like form and performs such extraordinary pastimes, Ras Leela, that anyone who hears them becomes exclusively devoted unto him. Quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adilila 4.34. Here Krishnadas Kaviraj points out that the verb bhavet in this verse is in the imperative mood. This means it is compulsory for the LTO hear such pastimes, as explained in the following verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adilila 4.35 Udas Smiley. Bhavet kriya vidhiling se iha kay. Kartavya avashya ei anyatha pratyavay. In this verse bhavet is in the imperative mood. Therefore this certainly must be done. To not do so would be a discrepancy. For the information of the reader, I am referring here to Shri Jeev Goswami Vaishnav Toshni commentary on the above quoted Srimad Bhagavatam verse 10.33.36. The words Anugrahaya Bhaktana Manushan Deham Asthitah indicate that the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna appears in his original human-like form and performs various pastimes in order to bestow favor upon his devotees. Therefore, although Shri Krishna is satisfied in himself, Aptakam, his display of kindness toward the devotees is quite appropriate. This is the distinctive characteristic of Vishuddha Sattva, pure spiritual goodness. The Lord is always prepared to reward the devotees with a result consistent with their performance of bhajana, worshipful service. The favor shown toward King Rahugan by Shri Jad Bharat and the Lord's favor toward Shukdev Goswami illustrate this. In the verse under discussion, it is said that the Lord manifests his form and pastimes in order to bestow favor upon his devotees. The word bhakta, devotee, used here refers to the Vrajdevis, the Gopis, the Vrajvasis, the residents of Vraja, and all other Vaishnavas, past, present and future. In order to bestow favor upon the Vrajdevis, the Supreme Godhead Shri Krishna lovingly engages in such pastimes as Purvarag, the loving attachment experienced in anticipation of meeting Krishna. To bestow mercy upon all the residents of Vraja, he enacts his birth and other pastimes, and by all his activities he bestows favor upon past, present and future devotees through the medium of hearing narrations of his divine pastimes. Shri Krishna manifests all these pastimes to benefit the devotees. By doing so, even ordinary persons, other than the devotees, who hear even the more common of the Lord's pastimes become fully intent on the Lord. Therefore, by hearing the supremely ambrosial Ras Leela, Shri Krishna circle dance with millions of gopis, such persons will certainly become exclusively devoted to the Lord. Of this there can be no doubt. This fact will be elaborately discussed in subsequent verses, such as Vikridit Vrajvadhubhir idasiye Vishnoah, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.33.39. The words Manushan Deham Asthitah may also indicate that those jivas who have attained the human form of life are able to hear all these pastimes, and thus they become exclusively devoted to the Supreme Lord. This is so because the Lord incarnates exclusively on the earthly planets, and it is here only that worship of the Lord takes on its predominant form. Consequently, the human beings residing on the earthly planets may easily hear these narrations of the Lord's pastimes. We find the word Bhaktanam for the devotees in this verse, but in some other editions, the word Bhutanam for all living entities is found in its place. In the first case, the purport is that the Lord incarnates only for the sake of the devotees, who are thus the root cause of the Lord's appearance. But the Lord also appears in his original human-like form in order to bestow his favor upon the liberated souls, the aspirants for liberation, sense enjoyers, and all other living entities in accordance with their relationship with his devotees. The Lord's compassion is therefore said to be the cause of his appearance. Nevertheless, it must be understood that the Lord's favor toward other living entities is due only to their relationship with his devotees. In his Bhagavatam commentary known as Bhavarth-deepika, Sri Sridhar Swami has written that, what to speak of the devotees, even materialistic persons are freed from their material absorption by hearing the Lord's pastimes, and thus they become exclusively fixed upon him. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this verse in his commentary known as Sararth Darshini. The Lord performs varieties of pastimes to show favor to his devotees. Coming in the human form of life, living entities who hear these pastimes become exclusively devoted unto the Lord. In other words, they develop firm faith in hearing the narrations of the Lord's activities. What more shall I say about the importance of hearing about Krishna pastimes? And this Raslila, being fully imbued with Madhurya Ras, the mellow of amorous love, is eminently distinguished even from the Lord's other pastimes. Like a jewel, a mantra or a powerful medicine, this Raslila is endowed with such indisputable, astonishing potency that by hearing it, all persons in the human form become devoted to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all varieties of devotees who hear the descriptions of these pastimes will become successful and obtain supreme pleasure. Can there be any doubt about this? Also, te mai chite verse 10. 33. 30 रोम श्रीमद् भागवतम नैतत् समाचरेज जातु मनसापीह अनीश्वरः विनश्यते आचरण मौढ़्याद यथारुद्रोब्धिज विषम. In other words, those who are not the Supreme Lord, who are powerless and subjected to karma, should never imitate the Lord's pastimes even within their minds. If anyone foolishly imitates Lord Shiv by drinking the poison generated from the ocean, he will certainly be destroyed. The gist of Sri Jeev Goswami and Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commentaries on this verse is that living entities who are subservient to the material body and who are Anishwar, bereft of the controlling potency of the Supreme Lord, should never behave in such a way as to imitate the Lord. What to speak of actually transgressing religious codes, as the Lord seems to do in his pastimes? One should not entertain even the desire to do so. The word samacharan, behavior, when divided into its constituent parts, samak and acharan, signifies complete behavior. Here it has been used to indicate total prohibition of such activity. Therefore, the purport is that such behavior should not be adopted even to the slightest extent. What to speak of performing such activities through speech or the senses? One should not even mentally conceive of such activities for oneself. The word high indicates that this certainly must not be done. If one were to behave in that way, he would be completely destroyed. The significance of the word modhyad, stupidity, is that if anyone, being ignorant of the Lord's omnipotence and his own incompetence, foolishly adopts such behavior, he will be utterly ruined. Just as if anyone other than Lord Shiv were to foolishly consume deadly poison, instantaneously he would be killed. But Lord Shiv, in spite of drinking poison, is not destroyed. To the contrary, he attains even greater fame and splendor as Neelkant, he whose throat turned blue from drinking poison. Here in this verse, imitation of such behavior has been prohibited, yet in the verse already cited, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.33.36, Yaha Shrutva Tatparo Bhavet, it is evident that not only devotees but even others who faithfully hear these pastimes will become fully devoted to the Supreme Lord. This has been further explained in the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.33.39. Vikredit vrajvadhubhir idacha vishnoh. Shraddhanvito nushrenuyad ath varnayediyah. Bhakti para bhagavati pratilabhya kam. Hridrogam ashv aphinoti achiren dhira. A sober person who in the beginning faithfully and continuously hears from his Guru the narrations of Shri Krishna unprecedented Ras dance with the young brides, gopis of Vraja, and later describes those pastimes, very soon attains Parabhakti or Prema Bhakti, supreme loving devotion for the Supreme Lord, and thus becomes competent to quickly dispel the heart disease of lust. Here Shri Jeev Goswami comments in Vaishnav Toshni, having concluded the narration of the Raslila, Shukdev Goswami became deeply immersed in spiritual ecstasy. In this verse, he describes the fruits of hearing and chanting the Raslila and thus benedicts all future listeners and reciters. Those who incessantly and faithfully hear Krishna Raslila with the young brides of Vraja and later repeat those pastimes, quickly attain Parabhakti toward Bhagwan Shri Krishna and thus relinquish the heart disease of lust. Shraddhanvit means to hear with firm faith. This word has been used to prevent the offense that results from mistrust or disregard of the statements of Shastra, authorized Vedic scriptures. Such negative temperament is in complete opposition to the principle of hearing with faith. It has also been used to promote constant hearing. By its use the importance of hearing has been pointed out. The words Athvarnayed indicate that after continuously hearing the Raslila along with other special pastimes, one will personally describe those pastimes. By indirect implication, it is further indicated that after hearing and reciting one will also remember those pastimes and take great delight in them. In other words, hearing, chanting, remembering, experiencing delight and so on are all implied by the words Shraddhanvitah Anushrinuyat Athvarnayed, to hear repeatedly with faith and then describe. Parabhakti, supreme devotion, means bhakti which follows in the wake of the gopis of Vraja. Therefore, the bhakti referred to here is prema bhakti of the highest category. The word pratilabhya, obtained, together with the word parabhakti, possessing the distinctive characteristics of prema, indicates that first parabhakti is obtained within the heart, displaying all its unending varieties at every moment. Thereafter one quickly gives up the heart disease of lust. The difference between Kam, material lust, as a disease of the heart and Kam, spiritual love, in relationship to the Supreme Lord is made clear. These two are quite distinct from each other. The word Kam here indirectly implies that all diseases of the heart will quickly be dispelled by spiritual love. In Bhagavad Gita 18.5.4, it is said, one who is situated in the transcendental position beyond the contamination of the three modes of nature, who is fully satisfied in the self, who neither laments nor hankers for anything, and who looks impartially upon all living beings, attains Parabhakti unto me. In this verse from Gita, it is said that one attains Parabhakti only after the disappearance of the diseases of the heart, yet in the Srimad Bhagavatam verse quoted above, it is said that one attains Parabhakti even before their departure. Consequently, it is understood that hearing and chanting of Raslila is one of the most powerful forms of spiritual practice. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur discusses the same verse, 10.33.39 in his Sararth Darshini commentary. The prefix anu, repeatedly or methodically, when applied to Shrinuyat, to hear, indicates constant hearing. By continuously hearing from the lips of the Shravan Guru, that Guru from whom one hears the fundamental truths and confidential aspects of bhakti, and who instills the desire to enter bhajana. Often the same as the bhajan shiksha Guru. Though and Vaishnavas, and thereafter reciting, narrating or describing those pastimes in poetry of one's own composition, one attains parabhakti, that bhakti which is of the nature of prema. After hearing instructions from the Shravan Guru, the person from whom one hears about the fundamental truths of Bhagwan, a desire may arise to engage in bhajana. The suffix tva has been used in the formation of the verb pratilabhya, obtained. In this way, pratilabhtva, according to the rules of Sanskrit grammar, when the suffix tva is applied to a verbal root with a prefix, it is replaced by ya. Then the letter P is dropped, and thus the final form of the word pratilabhya is obtained. The suffix tva is applied to the first of two verbs performed by the same agent to show successive action, i.e., having attained prema, he relinquishes all lusty desires of the heart. In this case, the first action is pratilabhya, the attainment of prema, and the second action is abhinoti, renunciation of the lusty desires of the heart. Therefore, the suffix tva in the verb pratilabhya indicates that although lust and other evils still remain within the heart, prema bhakti first enters the heart and by its extraordinary influence destroys all vices to the root. In other words, hearing and reciting Raslila possesses such astonishing power that the lust in the heart of the faithful sadhak is destroyed, and he attains prema. Though these two take place simultaneously, the influence of prema manifests first, and then, through its effect, all lusty desires of the heart are dissipated. Thus, as a result of hearing and chanting the narrations of the Lord's pastimes, one first attains prema for the Lord's lotus feet, and thereafter one's heart is liberated from lusty desires and all other contamination. Thus one becomes perfectly pure, because prema is not feeble like the processes of jnana, the pursuit of knowledge which leads to impersonal liberation, and yoga. Bhakti is all-powerful and supremely independent. The words hridrog kam indicate the difference between lusty desires of the heart and the kam in relationship to the Supreme Lord. Kam which is in relationship to the Supreme Lord is of the very nature of the nectar of prema, whereas the lusty desires of the heart are exactly the opposite. Therefore, these two attitudes are distinct from each other. This is substantiated by use of the words hridrog kam. The word dheer means pandit, or one who is learned in the scriptures. One who refuses to accept the claim of this verse, and thinks, as long as the disease of lust remains in the heart, prema cannot be obtained, is said to possess an atheistic temperament. One who is free from such a foolish, nihilistic mentality is known as a pandit or sober person, dheer. Consequently, only those who have firm faith in the Shastra are known as dheer. Those who have no faith in the statements of the Shastras are atheists and offenders to the holy name. Such persons can never attain prema. Consequently, in the hearts of the sadhaks who firmly believe in the statements of the Shastra, faith arises by hearing Raslila and other narrations. Only in the hearts of such faithful devotees does prema manifest its influence as a result of hearing narrations of Krishna activities. Thereafter, lust and all evils present within the hearts of the devotees are destroyed to the root. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 10.47.59 is also relevant to this discussion. There it is stated that bhakti is the only cause of superior qualities found in any individual. Austerities, learning, knowledge and so on are not the cause of superior qualities. Although bhakti is itself of the highest excellence, it does not appear only in the most exceptional individuals endowed with all good qualities. On the contrary, it may manifest or remain even in the most condemned and vile persons. Furthermore, it causes thoroughly wretched and fallen persons to attain all good qualities, to become worthy of the respect of all, and to attain the highest and most rare association. For this reason, The opinion that Bhakti Devi enters the heart only after all base propensities and desires, anarthas, offences, lust and other diseases of the heart have been eradicated is not appropriate. On the contrary, by the mercy of the Supreme Lord or the devotees, or by faithfully executing sadhan and bhajana, daily practices of worshipping and meditating on the Lord to achieve love of Krishna, this rare bhakti enters the heart first, and then all unwanted tendencies are automatically dissipated. This conclusion is thoroughly agreeable. Therefore, faithful sadhaks, with firm belief in the statements of Shastra, Guru and Vaishnavas, are eligible to hear the narrations from Srimad Bhagavatam, which are saturated with nectar. And those who believe that only sadhaks, who are completely free from all anarthas are eligible to hear the above-mentioned pastimes will neither become free from anarthas nor obtain eligibility to hear, even after millions of births. Another point to consider is that if this argument is accepted, then we sadhaks who are still affected by anarthas, although possessing faith, could never read or hear the sacred books of Rasika Gaudiya Vaishnav Acharyas, leading spiritual preceptors like Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Rup Goswami, Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This means that we would be forever deprived of the extremely confidential and elevated truths of bhakti expressed by these acharyas. There would be no possibility that the sprout of greed for Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous devotion, would ever be awakened in our hearts. We would be forever cheated of that which was not previously given, the Premarasa of the most munificent Sri Shachinandan, he who bestows Krishna Prem. What, then, would distinguish the Shri Gaudiya Vaishnavas who have taken shelter of Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu from Vaishnavas of other disciplic lines, Sampradayas? Athird oin to chonsider isthis. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrit Madhya Leela 8 70 dote sthis verse rirom padyavali. Krishna bhaktiras bhavita matiyah. Kriyata yadi kutopi labhyate. Tatra lolyam api mulyam eklam. Janmakoti sukritair na labhyate. Here, the words lolyam api mulyam eklam, indeed the only price is greed, indicate that this supremely rare greed cannot be aroused even by pious activities accumulated over millions and millions of births. Then how can this greed be obtained? The words Krishna Bhaktiras Bhavita Matiyah indicate one whose intelligence or perception has been awakened toward Krishna Bhaktiras, nectar-filled loving service to Krishna. Here, the implication is that by faithfully hearing the narrations of Shri Krishna pastimes saturated with rasa from the lips of Rasika Vaishnavas in whom Krishna Bhaktiras has arisen, or by faithfully and attentively studying the literatures related to the pastimes of Shri Krishna composed by them, this greed may be obtained. Besides this, there is no other means. Some maintain that at present no sadhak exists who is completely free from anarthas, and that therefore no one is eligible, nor in the future will anyone be eligible. This argument is completely illogical. Freedom from lust and all other anarthas in and of itself is not the qualification for entrance into Raganuga Bhakti. On the contrary, greed awakened towards the Lord's Madhurya, sweetness, is the sole qualification for entrance into Raganuga Bhakti, nor is there any certainty that by routine observance of the limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti, following rules and regulations, alone greed toward Raganuga Bhakti will automatically awaken. There is no evidence of this anywhere. Therefore, our highest obligation is to follow the purport of the commentaries of the previous acharyas to the above-mentioned verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is by the inspiration of His Divine Grace Shri Gurupad Padma Nitya Leela Pravisht O Vishnupad Ashtottarshak Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj and the repeated solicitation of many bumblebee-like devotees that I am presenting Shri Venu-gita to the readers, along with a purport to the commentaries of Sri Chakravarti Thakur and Sri Jeev Goswami named Sararth Darshini and Sri Vaishnav Toshni respectively. By reading this subject with full faith, the greed to enter into Raganuga Bhakti will certainly sprout in the hearts of the faithful devotees. This itself is the very purpose of human life. Having expounded upon every point, I end the discussion here. Praying Ryor Adrop Ori Mercherirom Shri Guru And The Vaishnavas. Tridandi Bhikshu. Shri Bhakti Vedant Narayan. Shri Shri Guru Gaurango Jayatah. Magal Kara. Namaho Vishnupadaya Gaur Preshthaya Bhutle. Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Iti Namine. Atimartya Chritraya Swashritana Chapaline. Jeev Duhekhe Sadartaya Shri Nama Premdayine. Gaurashra Vigrahaya Krishna Kamakcharine. Rupanug Pravaraaya Vinodeti Swarupine. I offer pranam unto my most worshipable holy master Jagadguru O Vishnupad Ashtottarshat Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, who is very dear to Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who nurtures with extreme divine affection as a parental guardian those who take shelter of him, whose heart is always melting with compassion to see the sufferings of the jivas who are turned away from Shri Krishna, who is bestowing upon them the holy name along with prema, who is the manifestation of the receptacle of Mahaprabhu Prema, who is the topmost preacher of Prema Bhakti in the line of Sri Rup Goswami, and whose name is Vinoda because he is very skillful in giving pleasure, Vinoda, to Vinodini Radhika and to Mahaprabhu. Vishwasya Nath Rupo Sa Bhaktivartma Pradarshanath. Bhakt Chakre Vartitatvat Chakravarti Akhyar Bhavat. Because he illuminates the path of bhakti for the whole world, just like Vishwanath Mahadev, Lord Shiv, the best of devotees, he is known as Vishwanath. Because he has attained the foremost position among the community of devotees, he is known as Chakravarti. Therefore, he is worthy of being called Vishwanath Chakravarti. The word Kakra means circle or wheel and Varti means to reside. Thus, Chakravarti means one who resides in a circle or community. In this case the word Varti also conveys the sense of an axis or axle around which a wheel rotates. Thus, Chakravarti is that person who is the axis around whom the Vaishnav community revolves. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtan Sthapit Yen Bhutle. Swayar Rupah Kada Mahya Dadati Swapdantikam. When will Shri Rup Goswami, the dear associate of Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, bestow upon me the shelter of his lotus feet? He has established Krishna Prem, love of Krishna, and the method for obtaining it in this world, thus fulfilling the inner heart's desire of Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Vachakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evcha. Patitana pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. I bow down again and again unto the Vaishnavas who are just like desire trees, who are an ocean of mercy, and who deliver the fallen, conditioned souls. Venunad sudhavrishya nishkrama yukti madhuri. Yasa nah payamas krishnasta ev nogatiha. By the shower of nectar in the form of his flute song, Shri Krishna, who enjoys dallying in Vraja, has caused his dearmost Vrajgopis to release a flow of sweet words incited by their unrestrained prema. He has thus bestowed upon us the good fortune of drinking the statements of those cowherd maidens, who are our one and only shelter. Namo Mahavdanyaya Krishna Prem Pradayate. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah. The supremely munificent Shri Krishna Caitanya is bestowing that precious gift of Krishna Prem, which is rare even for the demigods. He is Shri Gopijan Vallabh, Shri Krishna himself, the lover of the gopis, now resplendent with a golden complexion, having assumed the sentiment and bodily effulgence of Srimati Radhika. I reverently bow down before Shri Gaurang Mahaprabhu. Verse 1. Shri Shuk Uvach. Itha Sharat Swachhajalan. Padmakar Sugandhina. Nyavishad Vayuna Vata. Sago Gopal Ko Chuta. Shri Shuk Uvach. Shri Shukdev Goswami, or Shri Shuk, the very dear parrot of Shrimati Radhika, said, Itha, in this way, Sharat autumn season, Swachha, clear, Jalam water, Padmakar, lotus flowers are blossoming in the lakes, ponds and rivers such as the Yamuna, Kusuma Sarovara, Mansi Ganga, Govindkund, etc., Sugandhina, full of sweet fragrance. Nyavishat, he entered Vayuna by the cool and fragrant breeze, Vatar carrying Sa with Go, the cows Gopalakah, and the cowherd boys Achyutah. The infallible Nandanandana Shyamsundar. Translation. Shri Shukdev Goswami, Shrimati Radhika very dear parrot, said, O Maharaj Parikshit, Shri Vrindavan, now exquisitely decorated by the autumn season, became even more splendid. The lakes, ponds and rivers were filled to capacity with clear, sweet water. Gently blowing aromatic breezes carried the mild, sweet fragrance of blossoming lotus flowers from the lakes. In this pleasing atmosphere the infallible Nandanandana Shri Krishna entered the immensely alluring Vrindavan forest, accompanied by his cows and the Gopas, his cowherd friends. Anandavardhini Vyakhya. The commentary that increases pleasure. In the previous chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam Chapter 13, the crown jewel of swan-like devotees, Shri Shukdev Goswami gave an enchanting description of Vrindavan autumnal splendor. In the present chapter he describes Krishna gallivanting in the forest in autumn. Ordinarily the 6 seasons, summer, rainy, autumn, winter, misty and spring come and go one after another. In the summertime all the living beings are oppressed by the fierce rays of the sun, and the grass, trees and plants generally shrivel. Ponds, lakes, pools and other reservoirs also begin to go dry, and the currents of the rivers dramatically slow down. With the advent of the rainy season all the lakes fill to the brim and start overflowing, and the flooding rivers acquire a fearsome aspect. Everywhere the water becomes muddy, the trees fill up with new green leaves, and the clouds float throughout the sky, sometimes sprinkling softly and sometimes raining in torrents. As soon as autumn arrives, the ponds, lakes and rivers naturally become clear. All the flowers bloom due to the nectar-filled autumn moon rays. The full moon, surrounded by countless stars, rises in the cloudless sky. And the heart overflows with waves of new, joyful feelings. This is why Krishna danced in the Rasmandal arena and enjoyed so many other activities with the Vrajaranis. Ramanis, shy young girls who are expert in the various skills for awakening sweet amorous emotions, the sight of whose faces gladdens the heart. Char in Vrindavan during autumn. Shri Shukdev Goswami also describes the beauty of Vrindavan in the winter and misty seasons in various other passages. And in the spring all the trees, plants, animals, birds, and human beings are infused with new life, exhibiting fresh feelings of elation. The trees and plants sprout new leaves and shoots, and the people blissfully sing holy and other songs. At this time it seems that the land of Vraja is decorated like a bride. Vrindavan Dham is a most transcendental, miraculous, and astonishing place where the unique splendor of spring, the charmingly sweet queen of all seasons, reigns perennially, and where a velvety carpet of luxuriant green grass is always rolled out. The entire atmosphere is pervaded with both transcendental bliss and the intoxication of youth. These combine to create a kingdom of ever-increasing joy which casts a magical spell on the body and mind. The auspicious arrival of autumn smashes the pride of the unyielding clouds of the rainy season. At that time the whole atmosphere swings with joy, a green luster is reflected everywhere, and new leaves and flowers appear on the trees, which are filled with sweetly chirping birds. The rivers, streams, ponds, reservoirs, and waterfalls contain pure sweet water. Their waves seem to be playing with one another and running after each other as if desiring to be kissed. Many colored lotuses blossom in all the ponds and rivers, and the branches of the trees are also laden with fully bloomed and delightfully fragrant champa, chameli, beli and juhi, frangipani, and varieties of jasmine. Intoxicated bees relish the nectar of these flowers, and the ponds, rivers and hills of the forest resonate with their melodious humming. Carrying the weight of the sweetly intoxicating fragrance, the gentle breeze collides into the branches of the trees and loses its balance. Sri Shukdev Goswami was filled with bliss as he described Sri Krishna autumn dalliance and said, Ittha Sharatsvatsha Jalam Padmakar Sugandhina. Maharaj Parikshit, I have described only a fraction of the unparalleled beauty of Vrindavan, which becomes especially splendid with the onset of autumn. On seeing the previously described loveliness of Vrindavan at this time, Sri Krishna, the performer of unlimited pastimes, becomes very pleased. To stroll in the forest and see more of her beauty, he enters Vrindavan with his multitudes of cows and cowherd friends. With the advent of autumn, the waters of Kusuma Sarovara, Pavan Sarovar, Manas Ganga, the Yamuna and the other forest lakes spontaneously become crystal clear. The current of the rivers slows down, their mood turns grave, and their waves also become subdued. The lakes and rivers are elaborately beautified with the blossoming of countless varieties of lotuses, lilies and other flowers. The gentle breeze blows with the wonderful fragrance of these flowers and permeates all of Vrindavan. The infallible Achyuta, who never diverges from his constitutional qualities, especially his mercy, his beauty and his sweet pastimes, who never fails to keep his word and to please his devotees. Panch Shri Krishna tho never devites rirom his nature, bech me rilleptit supreme bliss upon entering Vrindavan. Verse 2. Kusumitvanraj mibhring, Dwijkul ghustasrehsarin mahidram, Madhuptir avgahye charyan gaha, Sahpashupalbalash chukuj venu. Kusumita completely filled with beautiful flowers, Vanraji amidst the rows of trees of the forest, Shushmi maddened, Bhring bees, Dvija of birds, Kula and flocks, Ghusht resounding, Sarhasrin its lakes, ponds and rivers, Mahidram, Govardhana, Nandishwar and other hills, Madhupati Akhilar Samrit Sindhu Shri Krishna. Here Madhu means rasa. Madhupati therefore refers to Rasikshekar Krishna, who is the ocean of nectar of all the rasas. Madhu also means Vasanta, who is enjoyed by Krishna. Avgahya entering, Charyan grazing, Gaha the cows, Sahpashupalbala in the company of the cows, the cowherd boys and his elder brother Balram. Chukuj vibrated, Venum his flute. Translation. Intoxicated bees were humming here and there amidst the rows of lush green trees filled with colorful, sweet-smelling flowers. All the lakes, rivers and hills of the forest resounded with the melodious singing of flocks of many kinds of birds as they flew from place to place. Madhupati Shri Krishna, accompanied by Baldeva and the cowherd boys, entered Vrindavan and, while taking the cows for grazing, vibrated a mellow sweet tune upon his alluring flute. Anandavardhini Vyakhya. The commentary that increases pleasure. The natural beauty of the land of Vrindavan is beyond description. And it becomes even more exquisite and delightful upon the auspicious arrival of Vrajrajandan with his cows and cowherd friends. Kusumitvanraji, the many different trees and creepers fill up with soft, newly blossomed leaves, flowers and fruits. And why should it be otherwise? Just as the bee is the only enjoyer of a flower's honey, Madhupati Shri Krishna is the sole enjoyer and the supreme stockkeeper of the honey of all the rasas. Vasanta, the spring season, is also Madhu, honey, for her pati, beloved master, Shri Krishna, who is the recognized object of her service. Therefore, it is not strange that Vrindavan enhances her beauty in welcoming him, her revered Lord and Master. As soon as Vrajendranandana Shri Krishna enters Vrindavan, the trees, creepers, animals and birds all blossom with delight. As one watches this scene unfold, it is very hard to discern whether the forest flourishes because of the blossoming flowers or whether the trees are in ecstasy because of the lushness of the forest. Shri Shukdev Goswami quoted the Gopis, Jaiti te dhika janmana vrajah shrayat indira shashvad atrahai. Before Krishna's appearance in Vraja, the goddess of fortune Lakshmi Devi personally came to Vrindavan and decorated her in various ways to facilitate Krishna playing there. It seems that the entire forest is beautifully embellished in every way, ready to welcome him. Describing the beauty of autumn in Vrindavan, Shri Shukdev Goswami said, Shushmibhringadvijkul ghustasrah sarin mahidram. Different varieties of jasmine, beli and juhi, and many other types of flowers are blossoming here, there and everywhere. Their fragrance reaches far and wide, inviting the bees to taste their honey. Swarms and swarms of homing bees are attracted to sit on the lovely flowers, and after drinking nectar they find other flowers to taste. In this way, drinking nectar full up to the neck, they become intoxicated and sing. It appears as if one Devi, the goddess of the forest, is welcoming the arrival of Madhupati Shri Krishna with their humming. On hearing the bees, how can the parrots, the many kinds of cuckoos and other birds remain quiet? They also join in with their chirping and drown in ecstasy. Absorbed in bliss, they fly hither and thither from one tree to another and from one branch to the next, causing the whole of Vrindavan to resonate with the sound of their singing. The combination of the humming of the bees and the singing of the birds creates an unparalleled, soft, sweet musical symphony which reverberates throughout all the ponds, lakes and hills of Vrindavan. Krishna, the son of the king of the cowherds, along with his friends and elder brother Dauji, enters Vrindavan on the excuse of taking the cows for grazing, but actually he comes only to drink Vrindavan enchanting beauty. Hearing the humming of the bees and the harmonious chirping of the parrots, cuckoos and other birds, Krishna begins dancing with joy. In order to see the beauty of the various forests, he strolls from one to another, accompanied by his countless friends and cows. The innumerable flowers decorating the luxuriant forest grounds increase in number upon Krishna's entrance, and their fragrance becomes even more attractive. Seeing the dancing of the maddened peacocks, and hearing the singing of the birds, Krishna, in his charmingly crooked Tribhangalit, threefold bending pose, leans against a branch of a delighted Kadamba tree in the forest on the bank of the river Yamuna. He holds the flute to his soft lips, places his blue lotus bud-like fingers on the holes of the flute and vibrates a mellow tune. Sapashupal Balash Chukuj Venum Dam, Shridama, Vasudama, Subala and the rest of his friends, along with Dauji, also play their flutes, horns and other musical instruments in harmony with Krishna flute. The entire Vrindavan begins vibrating with musical sounds. All moving and non-moving beings become spellbound upon hearing this sweetly enchanting music. At that time an indescribable stream of bliss never before experienced flows through Vrindavan. Verse 3. Tad vrajastriya ashrutya. Venu-gitan smarodyam. Kaschit parokshan krishnasya. Swaskibhyon vavarnayan. Tad that vrajastriyah, the young girls, Kishoris, of Vraja, Ashrutya, having heard Venu-gita, the song of the flute, Venunad, Samaraudayam, bhav of calm, arousing an intense desire to meet with Krishna, Kaschit, one of them, Paroksham, privately, hundreds and thousands of gopis gathered together in a secluded place with no one else present, not even Krishna, the gopis' mothers-in-law or any other family members. Krishnasya of Krishna, his beloved gopis, Swaskibhyo, to their intimate companions. Anuvarnayan, continuously described, the Tadatmik gopis describing Shri Krishna as befits him. Translation. When the Vrajkishoris, the fresh young maidens of Vraja, heard that sound of Sri Shyamsundar flute, feelings of love and an intense desire to meet with him were aroused in their hearts. In a secluded place they described to their intimate companions Sri Krishna beauty and qualities and the powerful influence of his flute. Verse 4. Tadvarnetum arabdha hai. Smarantyah Krishna cheshtitam. Nashkan smarvege. Vikshiptamanso nrip. Tad that the sweetness of Krishna flute, varnayatum to describe, arabdha beginning, smarantyah remembering, Shyamsundar qualities churning within their minds, Krishna cheshtitam, Krishna pastimes, which attract the hearts of all, na ashkan they were incapable, samaravegena by the force of calm came the ardent desire to meet with Krishna, vikshipta agitated, manasah, whose minds, nrip, O King Parikshit. Translation. O King Parikshit, the Vrajamnis, the beautiful young damsels of Vraja, certainly wanted to discuss among themselves the sweetness of the sound of Sri Krishna flute, but as soon as they remembered the Venu, immediately the vision of their beloved's charming pastimes, his compelling glance filled with love, his beckoning eyebrows, his sweet smiles, and his other attractive features manifested in their hearts. Vrajendranandana Shyamsundar, who charms even Cupid, churned their minds with his qualities, and their hearts were set aflutter with an intense desire to meet with him. They completely lost control of their minds, which at once went to join their beloved Sri Krishna. How could the cowherd girls speak now? Thus they were unable to describe him. Anandavardhini Vyakhya. The commentary that increases pleasure. In Vrindavan, on the bank of the Yamuna embellished with delightful trees and creepers, Krishna was standing in his graceful Tribhangalit pose. Leaning on one of the bent branches of a blossoming Kadamba tree, he struck a lovely note on his flute. Immersed in supreme bliss, all the moving and non-moving beings became oblivious to their bodies and all bodily connections. The enchanting Venunad, the mellifluous melody of the flute, a sound so inconceivably and startlingly sweet that it sets the head spinning and changes the intrinsic nature of all beings, both living and non-living. 6 was not able to confine its sweetness to its place in the forest, but came dancing out on the breeze, going from house to house in Vraja. It entered the ears of all the Vrajvasis, causing waves of emotions to surge up in their hearts. Vrindavan is the natural fountainhead of all varieties of transcendental loving sentiments, bhavas. From the men and women to the birds, animals and insects, and even the trees, creepers and unconscious entities such as the hills, lakes and rivers, all are filled with loving emotions. According to the level of their bhavas, they taste the nectar of the unprecedented, condensed sweetness of Vrajendranandana Shyamsundar, the son of the king of Vraja, who is the embodiment of supreme pleasure. Just as the thundering of clouds causes masses of water from the unlimited, unfathomable ocean to inundate the shores, in the same way the sweet Venunad of the cloud-like Navkishore Natvar Shri Krishna, the ever-youthful expert dancer, churns up the ocean of loving sentiments in the hearts of the Vrajvasis. Vrajbhumi is full with 4 kinds of moods: dasya, servitorship, sakhya, friendship, vatsalya, parental affection, and madhurya, amorous love, with sakhya, vatsalya and madhurya predominating among the majority of its residents. Sridama, Subala and the other cowherd boys in Sakhya Bhav regard Krishna as their friend, and by this bhav taste his sweetness. Nanda Baba and Yashodama lovingly look after Krishna with Vatsalya Bhav, and in the same mood the other elder Gopas and Gopis also think of Shri Krishna as their own son. In this way they taste the charm of Krishna childhood. Shri Radha, Chandravali and all the other young wives of the Gopas think of Krishna as the love of their life, and relish the beauty of the youthful Kishore Krishna in Madhurya Bha. Whenever the people of Vraja come in contact with Shri Krishna in any way, either by seeing his beauty and pastimes, touching him, hearing his sweet voice or listening to him play on the flute, loving sentiments are stirred up in their hearts like waves in the sea. Both internally and externally they become emotionally flooded.